Yura Natsuki believes that there is nothing extraordinary in the world he once lived in. The demon god Zephos appears before him, his voice heavy and full of power. He tells Yura that he has come far, but his journey ends here because the demon god himself now stands before him. Yura does not step back. He quietly draws his huge sword, his eyes calm yet filled with determination. In a single swift motion, he slashes through the demon god. Zephos lets out a deep roar as his body breaks apart and fades into the darkness. Yura stands still, his hands trembling as the silence returns. Slowly, tears begin to fall from his eyes. He whispers to himself that he can finally escape that terrible world that kept him trapped for so long. His body begins to glow softly, light surrounding him like warm wind, and as his tears continue to fall, he fades away. Yura opens his eyes and finds himself somewhere in Mukojima City. In front of him, there is a couple standing, and the boy named Yuto tells him that he is going to date the girl beside him. Yuto also says that since Yura likes the same girl, he wanted to let him know first. Yura listens to his words, but instead of feeling sad or jealous, his face lights up with a bright smile. He steps forward, holds Yuto's shoulders tightly, and tells him that it has been a long time since they last met. Then, without waiting for a reply, Yura starts running away with a cheerful laugh, saying that Yuto is still as popular as he used to be. Yuto stands there for a moment, completely shocked by Yura's unexpected reaction. Then, realizing what just happened, he jumps up with excitement and shouts with all his heart that Yura is finally back. 6 years ago, Yura is summoned to another world, and that world becomes the worst experience of his entire life. Nothing there is like the beautiful fantasy worlds people dream about. Everything is harsh, cruel, and filled with endless suffering. He fights every single day just to survive, and there are countless moments when death almost reaches him. He throws himself into dangerous battles again and again, not for fame or reward, but to protect that world and bring peace to it. He faces the 4 heavenly kings, each stronger and more terrifying than the last. He challenges the demon king who spreads fear across the land, and even confronts the demon god who rules over everything with darkness and despair. After a long and painful struggle, he finally defeats them all and manages to return to his real world. The first thing he does is shout with all his strength that he will never go back to that horrible world ever again. But when he looks down at himself, he realizes something strange. His body has changed, and it looks exactly like how it was when he was in his 3rd year of junior high. Yura suddenly remembers that on the day he was summoned, he was supposed to receive a new pair of sneakers and some clothes that he had been waiting for with so much excitement. The thought brings back a warm memory, and he immediately starts running toward his home. As soon as he reaches, he opens the door and steps inside. His mother looks at him with a surprised expression and says that he has come home earlier than usual. The moment Yura sees her face, his eyes fill with tears. After 6 long years of struggle and loneliness, he finally sees his mother again, standing in front of him, alive and smiling. His mother becomes worried and asks him why he is suddenly crying. Yura quickly wipes his tears and tells her that it is nothing serious, that he is just feeling relieved to be home again. Hearing that, his mother relaxes and tells him that his packages have arrived. Yura smiles softly and walks toward his room, but before entering, he turns back and looks at his mother. With a trembling voice, he tells her that he has finally returned home. His mother smiles warmly and says that she is glad he is back. Yura opens all his packages one by one, tears off the wrapping, and takes out his new hoodie and sneakers. He puts them on carefully, feeling the soft fabric and light weight beneath his feet. A small smile appears on his face as he lets out a deep sigh, saying that they feel really comfortable. Yura sits on his bed and takes a deep breath, feeling the softness beneath him. He says to himself that Earth is truly the best place to live. He thinks about the other world and remembers how awful everything there used to be. The clothes and shoes were made from the skin of monsters, rough and heavy, and wearing them always felt unpleasant. Nothing was comfortable in that world. The beds were only hard wooden boards with a thin sheet spread over them, and every night felt like torture. The summers were so hot that it felt like his skin was burning, and the winters were so cold that he could barely move his fingers. There were insects everywhere, crawling into his tent and biting him while he tried to sleep. To make things worse, there were no proper baths, and every day he felt dirty and tired. Thinking about all of that, Yura cannot believe that he actually survived there for 6 long years. He looks at his hands quietly and wonders if everything that happened was just a dream. But when he focuses, he can still feel the power inside him, faint but real, and he tells himself that there is no way it was only a dream. The thought that he fought demons with magic and faced gods almost sounds too ridiculous to be true, yet he knows deep down that it really happened. To make sure, he raises his hand and tries to summon the Crimson Flame, the spell he once mastered. Nothing happens at first, and he sighs softly, saying that magic probably does not work in this world. But in the next instant, his hand glows with intense heat, and a massive ball of fire suddenly appears above his palm. Before he can even react, the blazing sphere shoots upward, exploding with a loud boom and blasting a huge hole through the ceiling above his head. Yura stands completely frozen, staring at the huge hole in the ceiling above him. His heart is pounding fast, and he cannot believe what just happened. He wonders in shock if he can really use magic in this world as naturally as he did in the other one. The thought both amazes and frightens him. Without wasting a moment, he raises his hand again and quietly chants the spell for repair magic. His mother opens the door with a worried look and asks him what that loud sound was. Yura quickly turns around and tries to act normal. He smiles awkwardly and says that it was nothing serious, that he was just doing some strength training and accidentally dropped something heavy. His mother stares at him for a moment, still unsure, and says that it is fine as long as nothing is broken. She tells him that dinner is ready and that she has made curry. The moment Yura hears the word curry, his eyes widen. He almost feels tears forming in his eyes again as he excitedly says that he will be right there. At the same time, far away in Mukojima City's prefecture, inside the grand main residence of the Minajuki family, a woman sits calmly within a glowing magic circle. Her eyes are sharp and focused as she looks toward her two subordinates standing nearby. In a quiet but serious tone, she asks them if they just felt that surge of magical energy that spread through the area. One of her subordinates immediately nods with a tense expression and says that the power was overwhelming, so strong and terrifying that it sent chills down her spine. The lady sitting inside the glowing magic circle looks serious as the air around her trembles with magical energy. She says that the power they just felt is the strongest she has ever sensed in her life, and she is certain that it belongs to a high-ranking demon. She adds that they have dealt with many demons that appeared in the human world before, but this one feels far more dangerous than anything they have ever faced. For the first time, she admits that she is not sure whether they would even be able to win if they fought against such a being. After a brief pause, she takes a deep breath and tells her two subordinates to keep watching carefully and not to make any move until she gives the order. Both of them bow their heads in respect and say that they understand her command, addressing her politely as their mother. The next day, in school, Yura sits at his desk during a break, playing a video game on his handheld console. His face looks relaxed and cheerful as he controls his character, who is fighting a big monster on the screen. Yura laughs quietly to himself and says that fighting monsters is really the best when it only happens in a game. But then, his smile fades a little as he remembers what it was truly like in the other world, how terrible and painful the battles were, how every fight left him exhausted and wounded, and how the smell of blood never went away, no matter how much he tried to clean it. Yura leans back in his chair and looks around the classroom, feeling that his quiet school life almost seems unreal after everything he went through in the other world. He smiles softly and thinks to himself that he is going to enjoy his youth to the fullest this time. He even laughs a little and wonders if he might be lucky enough to get a girlfriend someday. While he is lost in his thoughts, a boy sitting nearby suddenly turns to him and asks if it is true that Yuto has a girlfriend now. The boy says he heard that the girl is Sakurai Nova from Class F, and that since Yura and Yuto are childhood friends, Yura must know something about it. Yura looks at him with a calm expression and replies that he has no idea about it and does not really care about those things. The boy seems a little surprised by his cold reaction, but Yura simply shrugs and continues playing with his pen. A few moments later, a girl walks up to his desk. She looks a bit nervous but speaks politely, saying that she wants to talk to him about something and would really appreciate it if he could spare a few moments for her. Yura follows the girl quietly as both of them walk up the stairs to the school terrace. The soft wind blows across the open space, and the sound of the city echoes faintly in the distance. Yura looks at her from behind and wonders who she really is. His heart beats a little faster as he thinks that maybe she has brought him there to confess her feelings. He feels both nervous and excited, imagining what she might say. When they reach the terrace, the girl turns around to face him, her expression calm but sharp. She looks at him for a moment and then says that she thought she was facing a monster, But it turns out she was mistaken, and he is just a fellow student. Yura blinks in confusion, not understanding what she means by that. He tilts his head slightly and asks her if they have met somewhere before. The girl gives a faint smile and says that she is from the Minajuki division and that she is also his classmate. Yura nods slowly and explains that there was a recent class shuffle, so he has not yet memorized everyone's names or faces. He then asks her politely what she wanted to talk to him about. The girl's expression suddenly changes. Her eyes turn cold, and without saying another word, she pulls out a sword that she had hidden beneath her uniform. In a quick and fluid motion, she slashes toward him. Yura instinctively moves back just in time, the blade passing right in front of his face. His heart pounds as he stares at her, completely shocked by the sudden attack. The girl lowers her sword slightly and smiles again, saying that the rumors about him being skilled are true. Yura looks at the girl with wide eyes, completely stunned by her sudden attack. He takes a small step back and asks her what her deal is and why she is suddenly trying to fight him. The girl keeps her sword steady and says in a cold voice that before she sends him to hell, she will explain everything clearly. She tells him that the Minajuki family is a powerful and ancient bloodline of spiritualists who have, for centuries, fought against evil spirits, yokai, and demons that appear in the human world. It has always been their sacred duty to protect peace and destroy any being that threatens it. She continues by saying that Yura possesses an enormous and dangerous power that cannot be ignored. As a spiritualist, she cannot allow someone like him to live freely, and she has decided to personally dispose of him before his power causes harm. Yura listens to her with disbelief, feeling both confused and irritated. He sighs and says that he has no idea what she is talking about, and that he does not want to get involved in such nonsense again. As Yura tries to run away, he suddenly feels something strange pulling at his legs. When he looks down, he notices small glowing spirits wrapping tightly around his feet, making it hard for him to move. He realizes that something is terribly wrong, and before he can react, the girl points her sword at him and tells him that during her last attack, she placed a powerful curse seal on his leg. She explains with a confident smile that this curse cannot be undone with any ordinary spiritual power, so there is no point in trying to escape. Her tone turns sharp as she shouts that he should accept his fate and be gone from this world. Then, with a single motion of her hand, she releases a huge burst of energy that strikes Yura directly and sends him flying across the terrace. His body crashes hard into the wall behind him, breaking the tiles and filling the air with dust and debris. The girl lowers her sword and lets out a small sigh, saying that it was easier than she expected. But before she can relax, a figure slowly walks out from within the dust. It is Yura, completely unharmed and standing tall without even a scratch on him. The girl's eyes widen in shock, and she takes a step back, whispering to herself that it is impossible for anyone to survive that kind of attack. Yura looks at her quietly for a moment, and then starts laughing loudly like a maniac, his voice echoing across the terrace. He says that he has just returned from another world where he fought demons and gods, and now, even here, he has to deal with spiritualists. He sighs with a twisted grin on his face, and then looks straight at the girl, saying that it does not really matter anymore because she has disturbed his peace, and for that, he is going to crush her completely. The girl's face twists in anger as Yura's mocking grin only fuels her rage. She calls him a filthy demon and says that she will no longer hold back against someone like him. Her voice is filled with fury as she declares that she will fight him with her full strength, not with the dull practice blade she used before. Slowly, she pulls out a shining sword from its sheath, and its blade glows faintly in the sunlight. She says that this is Tsuyu Harai, the sacred blade of her clan, a weapon passed down through generations of Minajuki spiritualists. Yura watches her calmly and smirks, saying that he will test that so-called sacred blade himself. The girl grits her teeth, shouting at him not to underestimate her, and rushes forward with incredible speed. Her movements are sharp and precise as she swings the sacred blade straight at Yura's chest. Yura watches her strike carefully, analyzing her swordsmanship, and thinks to himself that her technique is not too bad for a human. However, when her blade meets his hand, Yura grabs it firmly and crushes it with ease, breaking the sacred sword into pieces with just one hand. The girl stumbles back in disbelief, staring at her shattered weapon. Yura looks at her with cold eyes and tells her that compared to the Demon King and the Demon God he once fought and defeated, this kind of attack is nothing. His expression suddenly darkens as he raises his hand, and in an instant, a dark aura surrounds him. From that darkness, the demon sword Blade of Chaos emerges in his hand. The air trembles as Yura swings the sword with one swift motion, and the girl is sliced from her torso in a single strike. The sound of her body hitting the ground brings Yura back to his senses, and his eyes widen in shock. He realizes that he has gone too far. Without wasting a second, he kneels beside her and quickly begins to use healing magic, joining her upper and lower body back together. Sweat drips from his face as he wonders if she is still alive. After making sure that her breathing is stable and her wounds are closed, Yura lets out a deep sigh of relief. He looks around nervously and mutters that he needs to get out of there before she wakes up, because if she goes berserk again, he will be in serious trouble. He turns away, completely unaware that this world is far stranger and more dangerous than the one he escaped from. Somewhere far away in a hidden base, an alien monitors the Earth's surface and suddenly detects an enormous energy reading coming from Yura's location. At the same time, in another part of the world, a woman with beautiful angel-like wings looks toward the sky and says in disbelief that even on Earth, there exist warriors with such terrifying power. Yura stands frozen, still trying to make sense of everything that just happened. He wonders if the girl he fought has already regained consciousness, since he used healing magic to fix her body completely. He sighs deeply, thinking that he just wanted a peaceful life after coming back home, but now everything feels like a mess again. Just then, several police cars stop around him, and many officers rush out, surrounding him from all directions. They point their guns at him and shout loudly for him to raise his hands. They warn him that if he moves even a little, they have orders to open fire. Yura looks at them in disbelief and asks if this is some kind of prank or movie scene, but the officers do not listen and yell again for him to stay still. Suddenly, a man in a blue coat steps forward and tells everyone to lower their weapons. He introduces himself as Hisashi Aoyama, the chief of Mukojima Police Station, and says that there is no need to panic and that he will take care of it personally. Hisashi walks closer to Yura, studying him carefully, and says that he just wants to ask a few questions about what happened. As he looks at Yura's face, Hisashi suddenly stops mid-sentence, his eyes narrowing as if trying to remember something. A few seconds later, his expression changes completely as he recognizes Yura. Hisashi takes Yura to the police station and places him in custody for questioning. Inside the room, the atmosphere feels calm but serious. Hisashi looks at Yura with a sigh and says that he never imagined the culprit everyone was talking about would turn out to be him. He tells Yura that it has been quite a long time since they last met, and that he has grown so much taller compared to the small boy he used to know. Yura looks at him with confusion, wondering what exactly he means. Hisashi smiles slightly and explains that he is an old acquaintance of Yura's mother, and that, to him, Yura is just the neighbor's kid he used to see often. As they talk, Hisashi's daughter, Ginko, quietly enters the room carrying a tray of tea. She places the cups gently on the table and stands beside her father. Hisashi introduces her to Yura and proudly tells him that Ginko is now working as a police officer at the Mukojima police station. He adds that she has a sharp nose for details and can sense things others usually miss. Yura takes a sip of tea, still feeling confused and slightly irritated, and says that he does not care about all those introductions. He just wants to know why he has been arrested since he cannot remember doing anything illegal or suspicious. Hisashi looks straight at Yura and asks him calmly if he has ever heard about the spiritualist. The moment Yura hears that word, a drop of sweat runs down his face, and his body stiffens as if he has been caught off guard. Hisashi notices his reaction and says that, judging by the look on his face, it seems he already knows something about them. He leans back in his chair and begins to explain that spiritualists have existed for a very long time, working in secret to keep the balance between the human world and the world of spirits. He tells Yura that they are not just some random group, but a government-organized organization whose job is to eliminate demons that harm innocent people and to deal with humans who misuse their spiritual powers. He continues, saying that although the public does not know about it, the police have long been aware of the existence of demons, spirit users, and supernatural incidents that occur from time to time. He adds that, in such cases, the Special Disaster Division of the police is often involved in the investigations. As Yura listens, he starts to feel uneasy, wondering where the conversation is heading. Hisashi then reaches into his pocket and takes out a slightly crumpled photograph. He places it on the table in front of Yura and tells him that they recently received a tip from a reliable source claiming that a powerful demon had appeared somewhere in the city. Yura slowly looks down at the photo and his eyes widen when he sees what it shows, a massive surge of energy bursting from his own home. Hisashi tells him that the image was captured last night in Mukojima City and that many nearby residents witnessed the strange event. Yura freezes, realizing that there is no way to talk his way out of this situation and that he has no chance of escaping now. Hisashi looks at Yura with a firm expression and tells him that the police analysis team has been working since last night to trace the strange energy that appeared in the city. After comparing all the readings, the results clearly showed that the source was him. Then, in a serious tone, Hisashi asks Yura if it was really his doing. He explains that the police have already classified him as either a high-level demon or a human who has awakened an extremely dangerous spiritual power. Because of that, they had to take action before he could use it for something evil. Yura lets out a deep sigh and says that explaining everything will take too long, so it will be faster if he just shows him. He slowly raises his hand, and a dark shadow spreads from the ground beneath him. From that shadow, a black-colored sword slowly emerges, giving off a heavy wave of spiritual energy that makes the air tremble. Ginkgo steps back in shock while Hisashi stares at it with wide eyes. Yura calmly tells them that this is the demon's blade, a trophy he gained after defeating one of the 4 demon lords. He then says that 6 years ago, he was summoned to another world where he fought as a hero against demons and gods, and that is how he got his powers. Hearing this, Hisashi slams his hand on the desk in anger and shouts that Yura should not think he can get away with such a ridiculous story. Yura looks at Hisashi and tells him firmly that he is not lying and that he has already shown the proof with his own eyes. Hisashi crosses his arms and replies in a calm but doubtful tone that no one would believe such an absurd story about another world and demon lords. Meanwhile, Ginkgo, who has been standing quietly until now, looks at the black sword in amazement. Her eyes shine with curiosity as she asks Yura excitedly about the weapon and where it came from. Yura smiles slightly and asks her if she really wants the sword. When she nods eagerly, he says that he does not really need it anymore and casually hands it to her. Ginkgo takes the sword with both hands, looking thrilled as if she has just received a treasure. Hisashi sighs heavily and tells her seriously that she cannot just take that cursed thing without knowing what it truly is. But Ginkgo, still smiling, replies that the sword is going to be her partner from now on and that she has already decided to name it Taro. Hearing that, Hisashi scratches his head in disbelief and mutters that she is just like her mother. Then he looks at Yura and tells him in a more serious tone that he should stop using his power carelessly. He explains that even if Yura himself does not realize it, his power is far too strong and dangerous. He warns that if the spiritualists ever consider him a threat, they might take action against him. And when that happens, even the police will not be able to protect him. Yura listens silently for a moment and then says with a relaxed smile that there is nothing to worry about, as he has no intention of fighting anymore. He adds that all he wants now is to play video games, watch YouTube, eat delicious food, and live a quiet, peaceful life. Hisashi lets out a small laugh and says that as long as he sticks to that, everything should be fine. Before leaving the custody room, Yura turns to Hisashi and curiously asks if he is also a spirit user. Hisashi shakes his head and replies that he is just an ordinary citizen. In the Minazuki family residence, the head lady sits with a calm but strict expression and looks at her daughter Miyako, who kneels before her. She tells Miyako that she had clearly ordered everyone not to get involved, yet she disobeyed and recklessly fought Yura. Miyako lowers her head and apologizes, admitting that she was careless and asking her mother to give her one more chance to prove herself. Her mother sighs softly and tells her that Yura is not someone a newcomer like her can handle. She reminds her that knowing one's limits is also part of being a true spiritualist. Then she turns toward her other daughter, Mio, who stands quietly beside her. The head lady tells her that she will now entrust the mission to her instead, and warns her to act with extreme caution, since the person they are dealing with possesses enormous power. Mio replies in a calm and cold tone that she understands and will not fail. The next morning, Yura walks sleepily on his way to school, rubbing his eyes and yawning. He mutters that he still feels so tired, and that waking up early is harder than fighting any demon. He then sighs and says that the police are really careless, as they almost arrested an honest and peaceful citizen like him for no reason. Yura feels that someone is secretly watching him from a nearby tree, and the strange sensation makes him alert. He looks around carefully and says in a calm voice that if someone has something to say, they should come out instead of hiding. A moment later, an arrow shoots toward him at high speed, but he quickly catches it with ease. When he looks closely, he notices a talisman attached to the arrow. Suddenly, a spirit appears from the talisman and wraps around him, stopping him from moving. A girl then steps out from behind the tree and says that it is a sealing charm that prevents him from using his magic. Yura looks at her and asks who she is. She introduces herself as Mio Minazuki, the elder sister of Miyako Minazuki. Hearing her name, Yura realizes that she has come to take revenge for her sister. He lets out a sigh and says that it cannot be helped, and he will have to finish this quickly. Suddenly, Yura recalls the promise he made to Hisashi, that he will not use his powers anymore, no matter what happens. He reminds himself that he has already fought enough battles in the other world, and now that he has finally returned to Earth, he does not want to get involved in any more fights or bloodshed. He looks at Mio and tells her calmly that he does not have any intention of fighting and only wishes to live a peaceful life. However, before he can even finish his next sentence, Mio rushes forward with great speed and lands a powerful kick on his face, sending him a few steps back. Yura rubs his cheek and sighs, realizing that she is not going to listen to him. Mio tells him that no matter how strong he might be, as long as the sealing charm is in effect, he cannot use any of his powers and is just an ordinary human. Without wasting another second, she attacks him again, punching him multiple times using her Minazuki-style ancient martial arts. But to her shock, Yura remains completely unharmed even after taking several direct hits. Seeing this, Mio's expression changes, and she decides to use her ultimate move, Tengen, to end the battle at once. But before that could happen, Yura becomes extremely frustrated and, without even thinking, releases a burst of flame magic that sends Mio flying into the air in an instant. The blast is so powerful that it shakes the trees around them and burns the grass beneath his feet. As the smoke slowly clears, Yura realizes what he has done and starts regretting it deeply. He mutters that he had promised not to use his powers again, yet he lost control just because of his frustration. Mio walks out of the smoke, coughing slightly, and tells him in a calm voice that he even destroyed the talisman's sealing power with that single attack. Her clothes are completely burned, and she says that she is surrendering. Yura immediately looks away, embarrassed to see her in that state. Mio tells him not to worry about that and says that she is fine. But then, with a serious expression, she adds that she has an important request to ask of him. Mio apologizes to Yura for attacking him earlier and explains that she did not mean to harm him, but only wanted to see his true strength with her own eyes. Then she tells him that before anything else, she has an important request for him. Yura tells her that before talking about any request, she should first restore her clothes, as he does not feel comfortable continuing like that. Yura waves his hand gently and uses restoration magic to fix her burned clothes back to their original state. After they are completely restored, he tells her that the design might be slightly off since he only recreated it from memory. Mio looks at her restored outfit in disbelief, amazed by how effortlessly he used such powerful magic. Yura tells her that he made a promise to someone that he would stay out of trouble, so he cannot afford to get involved with spiritualists anymore. He turns to leave and says that he just wants to live peacefully. Mio quickly stops him and takes out an envelope. She tells him that it is a token of gratitude from her family, along with compensation for what Miyako did to him. Then she bows and asks him to please hear her out before he goes. Seeing her sincerity, Yura pauses for a moment and agrees to listen. Mio then looks up at him and calmly tells him that the Minazuki family would like to invite him to their household. Mio explains to Yura that the Minazuki family has a long history as spiritualists, and their duty is to maintain the balance between humans, spirits, and demons. They are responsible for managing monsters and civilians who possess spiritual powers like him, ensuring that none of them lose control or harm ordinary people. However, she admits that his power is far beyond anything their family has ever encountered. Even their strongest spiritual users could not hope to match him in strength or aura. That is why, instead of treating him as a threat, the Minazuki family has decided to negotiate peace and form a friendly relationship with him. She also mentions that the head of the family, who is her mother, has taken great interest in his powers and wishes to meet him personally to discuss certain matters that could affect both the spiritualist world and humanity. Yura listens quietly and replies that he understands what she means, though he has no real interest in getting involved with families or organizations anymore. Mio smiles politely and tells him that she is thankful for at least hearing her out. She says that she will come again once a specific date has been decided for the meeting. Before she leaves, she curiously asks how much of his power he used during their fight. Yura answers casually that he might have used only around 10 to 20% of his strength. Hearing that, Mio turns around, a faint smile on her face, and says that he is incredibly strong but that she believes even he would not be able to defeat that person. Later that evening, Mio returns to her residence and reports to her mother that she has spoken with Yura and that he has agreed to meet. Her mother praises her for doing a good job and asks how he appeared in person. Mio answers that he looked like an ordinary young man, but his power was overwhelming. Her mother quietly wonders why an ordinary human would possess such terrifying power and mutters that if they are not careful, Yura might one day destroy the entire Minazuki family. In Yura's school, the classes for the day are finally over, and the students who do not have any club activities are asked to head home. Yura stands near his locker, changing his shoes while thinking deeply. He wonders what Mio really wanted him to do back then. He remembers that she was saying something important, but since she handed him a large amount of money, he got too excited and stopped listening halfway through. He sighs, saying that he should have at least paid more attention. Feeling hungry, he decides to grab something tasty to eat on his way home. Just as he is about to leave, his childhood friend Yuto calls out to him from behind and asks if he has a minute to talk. Yura agrees, and both of them walk to the empty school ground to talk privately. Yuto apologizes for stopping him when he was about to go home. After a short pause, Yuto looks straight at him and admits that he really messed up about Noah. He explains that he knew Yura had feelings for her, but things somehow developed between him and Noah as they kept talking, and now they are dating. Yuto looks at Yura with a nervous smile and asks him if he remembers the very first time they met back in kindergarten. He says that he had forgotten to bring his crayons that day, and it was Yura who shared his set with him without hesitation. Since then, he laughs awkwardly and admits that he has been taking things from Yura without even realizing it: his newly bought games, his favorite manga, even his first bicycle. He scratches the back of his head and says that now, without meaning to, he has even taken the girl that Yura liked. The guilt in his eyes becomes clear as he lowers his head and apologizes to Yura, saying that he feels terrible about what he did. He then looks up and tells Yura that he must be angry at him because what he did was cruel. He says that even he cannot forgive himself for hurting his best friend, and that kind of betrayal eats him up inside. Yura stays silent for a while, looking down, his expression unreadable. Then, with a calm tone, he tells Yuto that it is totally fine. Yuto freezes in shock, unable to believe what he just heard. He asks again, almost desperately, if Yura is really fine with all of this. Yura gives a small laugh and replies that he barely remembers those feelings anymore, so it is not a big deal to him. Yuto blinks in confusion and says that the old Yura would have cried and run away by now. He tells him that it feels like he is talking to a completely different person. Yura, in his mind, wonders if he was really that weak before he was summoned to the other world. In that other world, betrayal was nothing new to him. Every day there were scams, thefts, and power struggles. People betrayed each other for money, status, or survival. He remembers how he was nearly killed several times by those he once called his allies. Compared to that nightmare, what Yuto did feels like a small and harmless misunderstanding. It almost feels like a drama between children. Yuto looks uneasy, sensing that Yura is not the same person he used to be. He sighs softly and says that no matter what, Yura will always be his best friend. He reaches out his hand and smiles. Yura hesitates for a moment but still shakes his hand. However, as their hands touch, Yura suddenly feels something strange. A small surge of mana flows through Yuto's palm into his. It is faint, but very real. His eyes widen for a brief second as he feels that energy. When they let go, Yuto waves goodbye and says that he will see him tomorrow. As Yura watches him leave, he looks down at his hand and frowns slightly. He mutters to himself that he could clearly feel mana from Yuto's body. He wonders why Yuto has spiritual energy and whether he is even aware of it. The thought bothers him, and he begins to question if spiritualists are really the only ones on Earth with powers. While walking back home, Yura keeps thinking about the strange feeling he sensed from Yuto earlier. He wonders if Yuto also has some kind of magical power hidden within him, and if the world he returned to is no longer as normal as he believed. He sighs, thinking that maybe the word ordinary has no meaning for him anymore. Just then, a cheerful voice calls out to him from behind. A girl named Ayakawa runs up to him and greets him with a big smile. She calls him Big Brother and happily says that it has been such a long time since they last met. Yura looks at her in confusion, as he cannot remember seeing her before. Without stopping to think, he decides to ignore her and keep walking. The girl quickly moves in front of him and tells him not to ignore her so coldly. Yura looks at her and asks if she is really talking to him. She nods and says that she has been waiting for a chance to meet him again. She tells him that she wants to apologize for how badly she treated him before and admits that she actually likes him. She nervously says that she truly wants to get along with him from now on. Yura feels suspicious of her and thinks to himself that it must be some new kind of scam. He feels that she is probably planning to say that they are long-lost brother and sister so that she can trick him into something or take his money. He sighs deeply and tells himself that he is not going to fall for such a childish scam. Then he looks at her and tells her to try it with someone else, because he has no interest in playing along with strange stories. Without waiting for her reply, he turns around and starts heading home. If he keeps ignoring her, she will eventually get bored and give up chasing him. However, the next morning when he goes to school, he is surprised to see her standing in front of the school gate again. She waves her hand happily and tells him that he is 20 minutes late. She even says that the way his messy hair looks clearly shows that he has just woken up and rushed to school at the last minute. Yura is left speechless and wonders how she knows that much just by looking at him. Later that day, in the afternoon, they meet again near the school courtyard. This time, Ayakawa walks toward him with a bright smile and a small bento box in her hands. She tells him that she has made it especially for him because he cannot eat only sweet bread every day. She warns him that if he keeps eating like that, he will lack nutrition and fall sick sooner or later. Yura looks at her in confusion, still chewing on his bread, when she opens the box and proudly tells him that she even added his favorite fried dumplings inside. After the school ends, Ayakawa enters Yura's classroom with a cheerful smile, planning to walk home together with him. She looks around the classroom but quickly realizes that his seat is empty. One of his classmates tells her that Yura has already gone home right after the bell rang and did not even wait for anyone. She feels a little disappointed but decides to see him again the next day. Meanwhile, Yura, who is walking back home under the evening sky, sighs and thinks that the so-called scammer has now even managed to infiltrate his school. He becomes more convinced that she must be after the money he received from Mio. He imagines that she somehow heard about it from someone and decided to get close to him to take it away. He mutters to himself that there is absolutely no way he will let her get her hands on it because he already has plans to buy a new bike with that money. As he walks, he keeps grumbling about how weird she is and how persistent she seems to be. Hours later, it is already 11:30 at night, and the city is quiet. Yura is fast asleep in his room, completely unaware of anything around him. Suddenly, he feels a strange presence standing near his bed. When he slowly opens his eyes, he freezes in shock to see Ayakawa standing right in front of him in the dark. Her face is lit faintly by the moonlight coming through the window. With a mischievous smirk, she leans slightly closer and cheerfully wishes him good morning, as if it were the most natural thing to do. Yura instantly jumps up from his bed, completely freaking out, and shouts at her, asking what she is doing inside his house in the middle of the night. His voice trembles between confusion and anger. His mother, however, remains fast asleep in the next room, completely unaware of the noise, having gone into a deep sleep after drinking too much. Both of them step out of the house. Yura tells her that since need to stop following him, and asks her how she even got into his house like a thief. Ayakawa replies him that she is not a thief, and she came with the help of the spare key. He takes out his phone to call the police, thinking that she is really a criminal. Ayakawa tells him that she is not. Then she tells him to stop pretending that he does not remember her. She says that they used to live together, so she had the key. Ayakawa takes out a photo from when they were little. It was a photo of Ayakawa, her father, Yura, and his mother. She tells him that his mother and her dad got remarried, and they lived together in that house. Ayakawa tells Yura that she really loved him when they were little, even though they were not related by blood. But because of that guy, it all changed. Yura asks her about whom she is talking. Ayakawa replies that it was because of Yuto. Ever since the day she met him, she turned strange, like she was possessed, and Yura felt like a nuisance to her. She says that because of that, his mother and her father decided it would be best to separate them and got divorced. So, it is all Yuto's fault. Surprisingly, at that moment, Yuto also appears and tells them that it is really a coincidence seeing both of them so late at night. It seems to Yuto that they are talking about him, and so he asks them what is wrong. Ayakawa clings to Yura and tells Yuto to not come any closer. She says that she knows what he is up to, and it is all his fault that their family fell apart. Yuto suddenly grabs Yura's collar and asks him furiously if he fed something into Ayakawa's head, and because of that, she thinks that he is a bad guy. Yura replies that he did not do any such thing. Ayakawa tells Yuto that if he hurts his brother, then she will never forgive him. Yuto tells Ayakawa to not be fooled by Yura's words, as he is simply just so much jealous of him. Yura wonders what he is even doing there. He realizes that Yuto's magic is charm. Charm is a spell that turns anyone who comes close into a loyal follower of the caster. In the other world, there was one of the 4 heavenly kings who used it. He enslaved the king, his ministers, and all the citizens of the Concord Kingdom. Yura realizes that what Ayakawa told him earlier was not a lie, and it was the effect of charm. He wonders why it is broken now. Yuto tries to punch Yura, but cannot reach him. He tells Yura that he was nice to him because they were childhood friends, and he cannot believe that Yura could do something like that to him. Yura gets frustrated and kicks Yuto hard in the nuts. Yuto sits on the ground holding his stomach. Yura realizes that he should not have done that. He asks Ayaka to take care of him and runs toward his home. He wonders what is going on with the people around him. The spiritualists, the other world, sisters, and now someone who can use charm. He tells himself that he will not let his peaceful life be disturbed anymore. But despite his wishes, a new incident was about to unfold on Earth. Some were in the shopping district. Yura sits on a bench eating a chicken hamburger. The taste feels heavenly to him since he hasn't had one in many days. He looks at the burger and says that the person who invented it must be a true genius. He thinks it's amazing how just a bun and meat can create something so delicious, and adding cheese on top makes it even more perfect. As he eats, he remembers the food from the other world, which was so terrible that he can't help but feel grateful to be back on Earth. Now that he finally has a day off, he decides to enjoy it to the fullest and take in the peaceful city atmosphere. People pass by, the smell of food fills the air, and Yura feels like everything is normal again. But suddenly, the air around him begins to distort, and the space feels strange, like it's bending. He freezes for a moment, feeling a weird presence behind him. Then a voice calls out, greeting him and addressing him as a life form of Earth. Yura slowly turns around, and his eyes widen in shock when he sees an alien standing right in front of him. The alien tells Yura that it comes from a distant planet far away from Earth. As soon as Yura hears this, he feels an enormous amount of mana flowing from the alien's body and realizes that it is far stronger than it looks. His instincts immediately warn him of danger, and he decides to run away before anything happens. But before he can move, a glowing barrier suddenly forms around him, trapping him inside the space. The alien calmly tells him that the entire area is now separated into another dimension, and escaping from it is impossible. Yura clenches his teeth in frustration and declares that he will break it no matter what. He summons his magical power, his energy starting to shake the air around him, and warns the alien that if it doesn't release him, he will force his way out. Seeing this, the alien quickly raises its hands and tells him to stop, saying that it did not come to fight. Yura pauses for a moment but stays alert, watching every movement carefully. The alien then explains in a calm voice that it has come because it needs a favor from him, and that it would be truly grateful if Yura agrees to listen. He wonders what kind of favor an alien could possibly need from him. The alien slowly raises its hand, and a bright light appears in front of them, forming a large holographic image. In the image, Yura sees a beautiful woman with gentle eyes and a kind smile. The alien looks at the image and says that her name is Nancy, and that she is its fiancée. It tells Yura that the two of them have been drawn to each other since childhood, and after many years together, they finally decided to get engaged. The alien's voice softens as it explains that they came to Earth for their pre-wedding trip, wanting to see the blue oceans and green lands they had heard so much about. However, things took a terrible turn when Nancy was suddenly captured by humans living in the nearby town. The alien lowers its head and says that among those humans was one person who could use strange powers that it had never seen before. It tells Yura that it tried to save Nancy but failed, and was only able to escape because of the help of a passing human who showed kindness. Since then, it has been searching for a way to rescue her, feeling helpless and full of regret. As the alien speaks, Yura can see the deep sadness and pain in its eyes. Then the alien looks straight at him and points at him, saying that one day, it felt a very strong energy that came from his body. It tells Yura that he possesses tremendous power and that no one else on Earth has strength like his. The alien's voice becomes firm as it says that only Yura has the power needed to bring Nancy back. Yura looks at the alien and suddenly recalls that the situation feels just like one of the most famous scenes from the science fiction movie E.T. He remembers how much he has always loved science fiction movies and how he has watched every single blockbuster that ever came out. The memory makes him smile, and he whispers softly to himself that there is no way anyone could refuse after being asked for help in such a way. He then looks at the alien with determination and says that he understands what needs to be done. Speaking in an excited tone, he promises that they are definitely going to rescue its fiancée. As a sign of agreement, he stretches out his hand and touches the alien's finger, just like in the movie. After that, Yura introduces himself politely, and the alien responds by saying its full name, which is Jack Landock Jasper Williamson Chamber Hanamaki. Yura pauses for a moment and feels a bit awkward, saying that the name sounds really long and that he does not understand why Hanamaki is at the end. Jack smiles and replies that Hanamaki is the name of his homeland and that he is proud of it. And soon both of them prepare to begin their rescue mission. They decide to travel using a bicycle. Jack sits in the front basket while Yura rides it into the sky, flying across the clouds, just like the scene from E.T. that Yura remembers so well. As the wind blows around them, Jack looks down and says that it is truly amazing how Yura can fly, but he wonders if it is really necessary to travel through the air. He also admits that the position he is sitting in feels quite uncomfortable. Yura laughs and tells him that since Jack is an alien, walking or moving on the ground would definitely attract too much attention from people. He adds that in every alien story, the alien always sits in the front basket when riding a bicycle. Jack nods in understanding and apologizes for complaining. Yura then asks if Jack really knows where Nancy is. Jack answers that he managed to catch a weak signal from a tracking device that was placed inside Nancy's body and that it points to an old research facility about 7 kilometers away. According to the signal, she is being kept on the 3rd floor. Inside that facility, Hiroshi Mitarai, the president of the Unidentified Creature Research Society, is talking to his team. He tells them that they have conducted illegal research for years in search of unknown life forms, but he never thought that they would finally capture a real alien. One of his colleagues laughs and says that they could become very rich if they decide to sell it. Hiroshi replies that money is not their goal and that their true purpose is research. He says that they will study the alien's biology from top to bottom and make their names remembered in the history of science. Suddenly, the sound of breaking walls fills the room as Yura and Jack burst into the facility with great force. Jack, who is still sitting on the bicycle, accidentally hits Hiroshi right in the face with the front tire, sending him crashing into a table. He realizes that he entered too forcefully and sees that the bicycle is completely broken. It is his mother's bicycle, and he immediately worries about how he will repair it before going home. Before he can think further, another man runs toward them, shouting to know who they are. Jack reacts quickly and slams his elbow into the man's stomach, knocking him to the ground. Looking around at the shocked agents, Jack's eyes burn with anger as he declares that they have tried to destroy the friendship between humans and extraterrestrial beings, and that, as a true science fiction fan, he will never forgive such action. One of the agents pulls out a gun, but Jack grabs him by the face and smashes him against the wall before he can shoot. Another tries to run away, but Jack picks up a stone lying nearby and throws it with perfect aim, knocking the man unconscious in a single hit. The room falls silent as all the agents lie defeated. Yura looks around at the scene, a little stunned by the sudden chaos, and says that he has completely taken care of everything. Jack rushes toward Nancy and kneels beside her, asking softly if she is all right. Nancy opens her eyes weakly and gives a small nod, and Jack feels a wave of relief wash over him. Yura looks around the damaged lab and wonders in disgust if the people here were really planning to dissect her in the name of research. He quickly tells Jack that they should leave the place as soon as possible before more people arrive. Just as they start to move, the ground shakes slightly, and another man steps out from behind the falling dust and smoke. He has an appearance that reminds Yura of a character from an anime named Gojo, with white hair, calm eyes, and a confident smirk on his face. The man raises his hand and tells them to wait, saying that Nancy is an important guest and that they cannot take her away so easily. Yura looks at him and asks if he also wants to fight. Before he can say more, Jack warns Yura to be careful, explaining that this is the same man who captured Nancy in the first place. The man takes off his glasses slowly, still smiling, and says that it is already too late. In an instant, something invisible wraps tightly around Yura's body, holding him in place. He struggles but cannot move an inch. The man tells him in a calm voice that anyone who makes eye contact with him becomes paralyzed, and that the technique is called paralysis. Yura grits his teeth and says that he is also a psychic. The man nods, admitting that he knows who Yura is. He says that he is an outcast who works for money and does not care whether it is for crime or for kidnapping aliens. He smirks and adds that he feels sorry for Yura because he came to save a friend but ended up getting captured himself. Yura sighs and says that it was supposed to be his day off, yet everyone keeps making his life painful. As he speaks, his energy suddenly rises, and a powerful burst of light explodes from his body, breaking the invisible bonds holding him. The psychic's eyes widen in shock, unable to believe that Yura has completely canceled out his technique. Before the man can react, Yura appears right in front of him and lands a strong punch straight to his face, sending him crashing into a nearby wall. The psychic groans in pain and looks at Yura with disbelief, realizing that someone so young has overpowered him so easily. Yura turns to Jack and tells him to take Nancy and head back to safety. Then he grabs the psychic by the collar, his expression cold and serious, and tells him that he made his alien friends suffer and also broke his mother's bicycle, so he will make him pay for everything he has done. The psychic, still gasping for air, asks him to wait and listen. Yura pauses, but stays alert. The man explains that he believes aliens are descendants of gods, saying that if gods live in the divine realm, then the divine realm must actually be space itself. He says that by studying aliens, they could prove the existence of gods. Before Yura can reply, a blinding light suddenly flashes across the entire room. A massive explosion follows, shaking the entire facility and covering everything in smoke and debris. Out of the bright light, a lady with large shining wings like those of an angel slowly descends to the ground. She looks around with a confident smile and says that she was expecting to find a strong opponent, but it seems that she herself is the strongest one here. As the dust settles, Yura walks forward again, carrying the unconscious psychic on his shoulder. His clothes are torn, and his expression is serious. He looks at the winged lady and says in a calm but angry tone that she has ruined his brand new clothes. The lady smiles faintly, her eyes glowing with amusement, and says that she will play with him for a little while before ending it. Yura thinks that the attack earlier was so fast that he did not even notice its presence until it struck him. The sheer force of it makes him realize that whoever this woman is, she is no ordinary being. He looks at the lady standing before him and wonders who she might be and why she is here. The air around her feels heavy and divine, yet there is something dark hidden beneath that calm smile. Yura takes a step forward and tells her that he does not really understand what is happening. He asks her why she attacked him when he has done nothing to her. The lady grins, her eyes glowing faintly as she tells him that she will explain everything before killing him. She introduces herself as Lucifer, an angel who has come from the divine realm on a sacred mission to slaughter all demons like him. She says that her orders are clear and that she will not stop until every last demon is erased from existence. She also tells him that he should feel honored, as it is not every day that an angel of her rank personally takes action. Yura tries to tell her that she is mistaken and that he is not a demon. But before he can even finish his words, Lucifer suddenly charges at him with tremendous speed. The ground cracks beneath her feet as she appears right in front of him and lands a strong punch straight toward his face. A loud shockwave spreads across the area, but to her surprise, Yura has blocked the punch with one hand. For a moment, Lucifer's confident expression fades. She then calls him a small fry who should not be able to resist an angel's strike. With a flick of her hand, she throws him out of the building and sends him crashing through the walls. Dust fills the air, and she crosses her arms with a confident smile, saying that the fight is already over. She wonders aloud if she might have gone too far and destroyed him completely without leaving a trace. She tells herself that she was trying to hold back a little, but maybe she used too much strength against someone so weak. Suddenly, a massive burst of energy erupts from behind her. The ground shakes, and the air becomes thick with power. Lucifer turns around, and through the smoke, Yura slowly walks out, his eyes glowing faintly. He looks at her and says that her speed and power are really impressive, and that it has been a long time since he felt pain like that. Then he gives a small smile and tells her that her attack only managed to scratch him a little. Lucifer's expression slowly changes from confident to serious as she realizes that Yura has taken only a scratch after being attacked with her full strength. She cannot believe that someone could survive her divine power so easily. Yura looks at her calmly and tells her that she keeps talking about being an angel, but to him, she looks no different from an ordinary human who loves to boast. Lucifer frowns and tells him that it seems like he really wants to die, because there is no way a mere human can compare himself to a being like her. She says that she was created by the gods to destroy demons and cleanse the worlds from evil, and Yura's existence itself feels like a sin to her. Yura smirks and makes a wild expression on his face. He tells her that at first, he thought she was just a psychic woman in a costume pretending to be an angel, but now he understands that she is truly not a human, and because of that, he will no longer hold back. Lucifer clenches her fists and charges toward him at full speed, vanishing from his sight for a moment. She reappears behind him and tries to make him disappear using her divine energy, but before she can even touch him, Yura turns around and lands a strong back kick on her abdomen, sending her flying through the air. She crashes into a wall so hard that the whole building shakes. Lucifer coughs in disbelief and whispers that it is impossible for the great Lucifer to lose to a human. Before she can recover, Yura appears again right in front of her with incredible speed and lands a clean uppercut on her stomach, launching her upward. She smashes through the ceiling and flies into the sky. Lucifer cannot believe that a demon with such an amount of power even exists. Yura also flies up into the sky and tells her that he was wondering how strong she truly is since she called herself an angel from the divine realm. However, he admits that he feels disappointed after realizing that her strength is only around the level of one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly kings. He calmly tells her that she made a terrible mistake by challenging him with only that much power. Lucifer becomes furious after hearing those words. Her pride as an angel burns inside her, and she screams that no mortal can ever insult a being like her. With pure rage, she charges at Yura again, moving so fast that she leaves trails of light behind her. Yura watches her movements closely and slowly pulls out the sword of eternal darkness, its blade glowing faintly with dark energy. The air between them becomes heavy. Meanwhile, at the ground level near the destroyed facility, several police cars surround the area. Sirens echo through the city streets as officers take cover behind their vehicle. A cop tells Ginkgo that, according to the report from the Special Disaster Division, about 30 minutes ago they detected an extremely powerful energy emission from the building ahead. He says that based on the readings, it is likely the work of either demons or humans with spiritual power. Ginkgo listens while staring at the destroyed structure and thinks to herself that even if everyone is counting on her, there is nothing she can possibly do against some kind of monster that can produce such power. She starts sweating nervously and tells herself that she is just an ordinary civil servant and not some hero from a movie. She then quietly blames her father for forcing her into a job that deals with dangerous supernatural cases. Just then, Jack suddenly appears in front of the officers and asks if they are what the people of this planet call police. The cops freeze in shock as they see an alien standing before them, his skin glowing slightly in the dim light. Both Ginkgo and the other officer start panicking, as they have never witnessed an extraterrestrial life form before. Ginkgo can hardly believe her eyes, and she becomes even more surprised when she hears perfect Japanese coming from the alien's mouth. Jack calmly tells them to relax and assures them that he has no intention of harming anyone. He introduces himself politely once again, repeating his long name, and Ginkgo's reaction is the same as Yura's earlier, a mix of confusion and disbelief. After that, Jack points toward the unconscious psychic and the fallen members of the facility lying on the ground. He explains to the officers that those people were conducting illegal research inside the building, but he has temporarily made them unable to fight, so they will not cause any further trouble. Then, he turns to Ginkgo and tells her that he has lent his power to a human boy named Yura, but Yura has not yet returned. Ginkgo asks Jack if he knows Yura. Suddenly, a huge explosion takes place inside the building in front of them. The shockwave shakes the entire area, and the ground cracks beneath the pressure. Yura looks at the mess he has made and wonders if he has gone too far this time. The whole place is covered in smoke, and pieces of debris keep falling from above. He remembers that the woman who attacked Yura earlier did say that she was not human, and she also had wings like an angel. As the smoke slowly clears, Lucifer walks out of the dust, but her condition is terrible. Her wings are torn, and her once beautiful armor is shattered. Even in that state, she still looks fierce and proud. She tells Yura in a trembling voice that he is just a mere demon who dared to wound the noble Lucifer, and because of that, she will definitely slaughter him no matter what. A massive amount of energy bursts out of her body, shaking the air around them, and a glowing spear of light appears in her hand. The ground melts from the intensity of her aura. She calls Yura an insect and tells him that he should feel proud because she has decided to use one of her divine weapons. She says that she never uses something like that on lowly demons, but since Yura managed to hurt her, she will kill him with respect. Yura feels concerned as he senses the overwhelming power radiating from her body. He thinks that at that point, Her strength has already gone beyond that of the Demon King, or maybe even the Demon God himself. He tries to reason with her and tells her that if she releases that much energy, then all the humans in the area will get wiped out in an instant. Lucifer screams that she does not care about any humans and that all she wants is to destroy him. With a roar, she charges straight at Yura, moving so fast that even his eyes can barely follow her. Yura realizes that at this rate, he cannot defend against her spear, and he has no other choice but to use his power. As Lucifer comes close and raises her weapon to strike, Yura activates his intermediate magic. Dark thunder begins to swirl around him, and in an instant, he releases the spell. Black lightning crashes down from every direction, striking Lucifer repeatedly. The entire building collapses from the shock. Lucifer's upper half is torn apart from her lower half, and she falls to the ground. As she lies there, she looks at Yura with disbelief and whispers, wondering who he truly is.